All right, guys, welcome back to Undisputed Interviews. Today's guest is UFC lightweight veteran and Ultimate Fighter winner, I believe, season 31. I could be wrong. Kurt Holobaugh. How are you today, sir?
How's it going, man? I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Of course. I've been wanting to get this interview with you for a while. One of my friends you follow on Instagram, and I was nervous to DM you, so I was like, "Yo, can you just like message him and send him my Instagram and be like, hey, can you do an interview with my friend?" He was like, "Bro, he responds to everyone's interviews. Just message him." So I did, and when you responded, I was like, "Oh!" And then when you followed me on Instagram, I was like, "Oh!" So I got really hyped.
Yeah, man, I ain't got no problem with none of that kind of stuff. I enjoy this. This is one of the main reasons why, I feel like I became a fighter in the first place. Is for all of this type of stuff that I get to do. So, for me, that's
Yeah.
something fun, man. I love to do it. I'm not above anybody. Anybody that ever messaged me for interviews, man, I always take the time to, message them back and try to see what I can do to set something up with them.
Yes, sir. I feel like all UFC fighters should be like that. I mean,
Yeah, man, you would think some of them, I think, may get a little too big for, or think they're too big for everybody else. But, a guy like me, man, I'm from a small town, small place. I never forget where I came from. So, like I said, for me, I enjoy to do it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel that. I mean, obviously, someone like Conor McGregor isn't gonna like open a 17-year-old kid's DM and be like, "Yo, let's do an interview." But I guess you might as well shoot your shot and see what happens.
Yeah, 100%, man. But
But let's get into this. So my first question is, how did you find out about the UFC and the MMA scene? Like what made like did you see a fighter? Like what made you realize you wanted to become a professional fighter?
so as far as the UFC goes, when I was younger, well, I'll just say 10 years old, maybe 11 years old, my parents were, they always either bought pay-per-views or rented from, it was a movie store called Blockbuster back in the
Yeah.
day where they used to rent movies and VHSs, and a lot of times even starting the UFC wasn't on TV. So, after an event would happen, my parents would go to the Blockbuster. Oh, look, there's a new UFC show here. Let's rent it. And this was back in the Tank Abbott days, Tito Ortiz, Mark Coleman days, So, my parents were fans of the UFC and boxing and stuff like that. So they would always get all the fights and stuff. And, as a kid, I'm thinking, well, this is cool. And I was always a fight fan of any kind of fighting. So
Yeah.
just become a fan of the sport, first and foremost. And just as I was getting older, I graduated high school and I had some friends who started cage fighting locally in some local scenes. And at the time, you don't really know the difference between UFC and local MMA because it wasn't big. And then, I found a gym and started training and started fighting amateur and, started winning and turned pro and still kept winning. And next thing you know, man, I'm getting a shot in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, how many amateur fights did you have? Were you kind of like, did you want? I know like some fighters, especially in boxing, with like Vasily Lomachenko, they did over 300 amateur fights, or are you just one of the fighters that did 10 to 15, or like, okay, I understand what to do, I understand how to fight, I'm gonna hop into the pros and see what I can make in my mark in there for.
Yeah, for sure. And boxing and like MMA is a little bit different, like right?
Yep.
Because like you start boxing from a young age, and your amateur boxing rounds might only be 1 minute rounds, and you're showing up to venues, and it's still like this till today. You show up to little venues throughout your state that boxing is going on, and you sometimes can get pre-matched, or sometimes you just have to show up and say, hey, I got this kid right here. He's got 3 fights. Has anybody got anything for that? And if somebody's there trying to get matched, you might get matched. That's why boxers have so many amateur fights because it's not very long fights. You show up, you got to wear your headgear, you fight.
Yep.
You probably fighting or boxing every weekend. I see some of the local younger kids showing up to events every weekend. My son actually has done some boxing in USA boxing. He has a boxing record too.
Okay.
Um, but MMA is still a little bit different, right? Because even though like I started fighting amateur, the only difference between a professional and an amateur is the minutes in the round. Like most of your amateur fights are 3 3-minute rounds, pros are 3 5-minute rounds. And really the only rule that's different is the elbow. You know, the majority of the states you can't throw elbows as an amateur. So that's the only difference, right? You still show up, you fight in the same ring as the pros because normally pros fight later that night. So I actually did 8 amateur fights. Started in 2008,
Yes,
and
sir.
I did 8 amateur fights, and I went 8-0. So I went undefeated as an amateur, fought some tough guys, and typically between MMA, normally if you get, between 8 and 10 amateur fights, you're going to get kind of hard to find fights at amateur. So you eventually need to go pro.
Hey, you've been a pro fighter since I've been alive. I was born in 2007. My birthday's in 2 days. So you've been a pro
Happy
as
birthday.
much as I've been a human almost.
Yeah, man. So yeah, and it's crazy for me to think because I still feel like very young at heart. Like I still
Hmm.
feel like I'm still 18 years old because I mean I was 20, I think between 18 and 20 when I first started fighting and training MMA. So I still feel young. That's the cool thing about me and my journey is I've been through so much, but I still feel like I got so much more because I still feel young. So
Yeah, I mean, so I'm an amateur boxer. I'm 1-0, you know. Well, technically I'm
awesome, man. Congrats.
technically I'm 0-1. I had a draw, but
Okay.
you
But
know,
yeah, I mean it's still
I think I won. So, but yeah, um, I'm an amateur boxer. I love MMA. I'm kind of like, I know there's some fighters. I don't know how many, but I watch MMA on the daily, like 24/7, like at school, at when I go to bed, whatever. And I don't really study boxing, so yeah. But I think like I understand the differences, right? Like the boxing rounds are a lot shorter, and I think that does definitely play to the cardio advantage. But I don't know. I just think MMA is so much cooler. Like I'm about to go to college for broadcasting and journalism to become the next Joe Rogan and
yeah,
become a
yeah.
UFC commentator. So, but yeah, I have teammates like that, that aren't the youngest in age, but fighting every weekend, Frank. So yeah, I understand what you're saying with that. I think it's cool either way. I think it's so cool if you're able to fight multiple times a month to get that experience because not a lot of people are able to really get matchmakes like that, even just in combat nowadays.
For sure, and that's what it's all about, man. And that's what amateur is for. Is for you to get that experience, for you to
Yep.
go out and yeah, you might have a couple fights that are relatively easy, but then again, you fight some fights that are tough. And being
Yep.
an amateur doesn't really count. You're not making money, so it's your experience that you're gaining for whenever you do turn pro and you do take the tough fights and you do have money on the line. You got that experience to back up your record and your skill.
Yep. Are you one of those fighters where it's kind of I know Kevin Holland has said this that he's fighting for the paycheck. I'm not saying do you fight for the paycheck, but like do you still fight like even what's his name? Court McGee. He's pretty old, but he's still fighting. Do you feel like those fighters fight for the paycheck even in the older ages cuz they're not the biggest superstars. They've been around the sport, they've taken their wins, they take their losses, but do you think some of them still do fight for the money because um I forget who, it might have been Donald Cerrone, but he said he was afraid to retire because he didn't know what his life would be like without MMA. Do you feel like that's why we still see some older guys in the UFC nowadays?
Yeah, maybe so. And you never know what these guys' situations are. The cost of living and the cost of training for some of these guys is really high. So, but a
Yep,
guy like Court McGee, man, he has a lot of fights in the UFC. So you have to look back and say, man, he's made a lot of money in the UFC. Does he really need to fight? Probably not. He probably doesn't need to fight. But
yep,
and even like a guy like me, it's like, man, I'm getting older and I'm getting to a point to where, you know, um, the retirement word will probably start getting thrown around. But it's like, man, I don't know what I would do if I don't have fights lined up. I mean, I do know what I would do because I'm just going to compete jiu-jitsu until I can't walk anymore. But fighting, man, I would love to stay fighting as long as I can, but not really for the money or for a paycheck, just because, man, it's something that I love to do. And I think guys like
yep,
Court McGee and the guys that like Donald Cerrone, it's what they love to do. It's what they've been doing their whole life. And guys like us, we don't know life without fighting. So
yep. Yeah, I mean, again, Donald Cerrone, you're right. He just said he's back in the testing pool. I believe he said it like a month or two
mhm,
ago. Um, I don't know if he's fighting at lightweight or welterweight, but if they offered Donald Cerrone, would you take it?
100%. Man, I think 100%. I think he'll be a welterweight for sure, if not
Yeah, probably.
85, because I know he took a little time off and he got jacked up a little bit. So he's gonna come back pretty big. But
Yeah,
yeah, I, mean, I would never say no to. It would have to be somebody like really a real middleweight or something that I would say no. But Donald Cerrone, I would say yeah, 100%.
I know you started like doing the bull riding thing. I think he got really jacked from that because he wasn't like the biggest muscular dude in the UFC, but ever since that
Mhm.
bull riding, he's really been a big boy since.
Well, I mean, and he made it open about steroids too.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
that's
he made
true.
it plain and clear that he got on steroids after the UFC because he retires and he plans like, hey man, I'm just gonna work out and stay fit, get jacked. I'm not in the UFC no more, so I'm gonna do steroids. But then
Yep,
now he's coming back, and now he cleans his body up, which he's still gonna be physically jacked. So
yep. Ronnie, but he's a legend. I feel like he could fight whoever he wants to at this point in his career.
for sure, I mean, guys like Donald that's been in the UFC for that long,
Yep.
um, can basically call his shot and say, hey, I want to come back. I'll take this fight or that fight.
Yeah, let's get back on to you because you are the guest. Your last fight, Jordan Levitt, I believe a couple weeks ago, it didn't go your way, unfortunately. Um, Do you feel like it was like pretty early in the first round? I feel like the feeling out process was just happening, and then the situation that happened. Do you kind of look at it like, hey, I made one mistake and it cost me that fight. It was early on, getting my reads. I shot for an ill-advised takedown, or I did something that I trained not to do, and it was just kind of he caught me early. Good job on him, but I feel like that fight plays out differently had the fight gone on, or you just like it's a loss and I need to learn from it no matter how early in the fight it was.
Well, it's definitely a loss, and it's definitely something I need to learn from.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel like I should have been a little more patient. I knew exactly what he was going to do, and but sometimes it's hard to control myself when I get into the ring because I just want to kill the guy. And
yeah,
that's why my wrestling isn't very good because I'm not thinking about wrestling. I'm not thinking about jujitsu for the most part. I'm thinking about, trying to hit this guy as hard as I can. I think that's what I rushed a little much because as soon as we came out, we touched gloves, man. We paw a little bit, and he backed himself to the fence, threw a big front kick, and like hit me to the chest, and I immediately wanted to kill him right there. So I threw a big right hand, and he ducked under, timed it perfectly. Um, was able to put me down, and I think I kind of froze a little bit. I just didn't do the things that I knew I should have done. But man, that's the fight game. Stuff like that happens, and for a guy like me, man, I've had, including my amateur fights, I've had 40 something fights, and that's the
yeah,
first time in 40 something fights that's something like that's ever happened, right? I have two, I've been finished twice on my record. One was by armbar, one was by TKO, but the fights were crazy. Like, I dropped one guy and it was fight of the night for the other guy. So for this to happen so quick, man, it's kind of heartbreaking, but it goes back and it shows me that I'm still human and it can still happen. So I definitely plan on learning from it. It's a loss. I mean, I'm not really hanging my head. I'm just trying to learn from it.
yeah,
So move on to the next one, man. Jordan is. I think a lot of people underestimate Jordan
yeah,
Levitt just because of his character, but I mean, the dude's solid. I mean, he's got a solid record. He's fought some solid guys in the UFC, and yeah, man, I can't. No complaints, no excuses about the fight. I was as ready as I ever was going to be. I felt like I was
yeah.
in great shape. So it's just something that happened, made a mistake, and it cost me.
I mean, did you take a lot of like do you have any bumps or bruises from the fight? Or are you like, hey, I want to fight again, not relatively soon, but within the next couple months?
Yeah, man, no, I didn't have literally one bruise on me. I think the only thing that really happened is he hit me with that little slam that didn't hurt, it didn't affect me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But other than that, man, I was back in the gym on Monday, training on Monday. I talked to my manager a little bit. They was kind of on board with a quick turnaround. And as a lot of people know, we got the New Orleans card coming up soon. I live here in Louisiana, so that was
Yeah,
my
dang it.
goal the whole time to get on the New Orleans card. I still don't think it's going to happen, but I definitely had put my name. I put my name in that hat for that card before I fought Alex Hernandez. So
Yep,
I don't really know why the UFC didn't put me on it or didn't consider it, but you never know, man. I'm still in shape. I'm still training. If something happens and I can get on the card, whether it's a late replacement or they add me, I'll be ready to go.
You know what? I think it would be a great fight. You versus Gabe Green.
Yeah, man. I don't
You
really
versus
know
Gabe
much
Green.
about Dave Green, but I do remember him on the card a few weeks ago. I remember watching him, and I think he had like a little comeback win. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, man. Anytime I see a lightweight, I automatically scope him out a little bit, especially if I think it's going to be something possible for or an impossible opponent for me. But yeah, I took a look at him and yeah, man, I mean, I'm down to fight anybody. So when the UFC calls, and that's one of the main reasons I didn't turn down
Yeah.
Jordan Levitt because
Yeah.
the UFC called and said, hey, we know you want the New Orleans card, but we have an open spot for May 31st if you want it. And I'm like, shit, well, I ain't gonna turn it down. So let's do it.
Was he the first name that was offered, or did you accept somebody else and they declined?
No, no, that was the first name because I mean, like I said, my managers and the UFC, they all know that I wanted the New Orleans card. So they
Yep.
called me probably right at a month out for the Jordan Lovett fight. And so I mean you can call it short notice if you want, but I'm always in the gym training. So I don't really look at it as short notice. I look at it as a fight that came up really fast, but I was completely ready for it.
Yep.
Um, but no, that was the first name. They said, hey, we're looking to match Jordan Lovett. The spot's open. If you want it, you got it. So I said, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you were the underdog against Jordan Levitt. And when I first saw the lines, I was like, "What?" Like I kind of thought you were gonna be the favorite, but I think a lot of people did just forget about Jordan Levitt. He took what I believe almost 2 years off after the Chase Hooper fight. Had a kid, had some
Mhm.
injuries, I believe. But like what you said earlier, I think he's super underrated. I think he's actually like, really good. His last two losses, Patty Pimblett and Chase Hooper. Obviously, we've seen what Patty can do, and we've
Yep.
just seen what Chase can do. But yeah, you versus Gabe Green on UFC 319. I think that would be a great idea.
Man, I'll take it. But at the moment, I'll take anybody, man.
Yeah.
You know, but I think there's still a lot of fights out there to make. Of course, I need to get a win in the next fight, or
Hmm.
you know, I might as well pack my bags from the UFC if I don't win the next fight. But I'm not going to put pressure on my shoulders. It is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to go out there and make sure that I'm ready and I do everything in my power to get the win, no matter who it is. But there's a lot of interesting fights, man, and the fun part about being in the UFC is you get to watch the UFC every week, and you watch these
Hmm.
lightweights every week sometimes, and you're like, who's going to be next? When they call me, is it going to be this guy? Is it going to be this guy? Is it going to be a guy that I've never heard of? Is it going to be a guy that, that just brought in the UFC? So to me, that's fun. It's fun kind of looking at guys and be like, well, I might fight that guy. So,
Yep. I mean, obviously, we brought up you brought up the Alexander as well as the Alex Hernandez fight. I'm gonna be honest. I thought you won that. Um, I haven't watched it back in a couple weeks. I watched it back a few weeks ago, just for fun. I was bored, but I think you won that fight 29-28. So when I saw Hernandez won, I was a little confused. I know there's a lot of people online, like when it first happened, saying robbery. I think it was a close fight either way. I think it could have went either way, but I personally felt you got that. Have you rewatched that fight recently? And after the fight, did you feel you won that as well?
yeah, I mean, I haven't rewatched it recently. I rewatched it a couple times once I got home after the fight. I
Hmm.
do think it's a fight that I won, and I'll tell you why I think I won it. Of course, he won round three for that.
Yeah.
That's clear. Um, I really thought that I won round one, and then I thought round two was a little bit close. But when you go back and rewatch it, okay, round two, man, I was landing big shots. I was hurting him pretty good. Busted him up a little bit. So it's like, okay, well, definitely I was winning round two. He got the takedown later in the round, but didn't do nothing, and I still beat him up a little bit off the back. Um,
Yep.
so it comes down to round one, the round that I was like completely sure that I had won. But it turns out not one judge gave me the first round. So that's when I go back and I'm like, damn, like I definitely thought I won the first round. And one of the main reasons why I thought I won the first round because I hit him with a bunch that drop him in the first round. Normally, you drop a guy, especially in a close round, that's going to be
You
your
won
round.
that. Yep.
And I think, and it's smart on his part because I felt like he persuaded the judges a little bit. Now, I'm not saying I dropped him, like rocked him or hurt him, but I know my punch hit him with like I hit it, my forearm hit his neck, and it even jarred his neck. And he even said some stuff in the post fight that I kind of messed up his neck a little bit. But with a punch, and that's the one that dropped him. But when he
Yeah.
jumped back up, he hollered out loud that was a slip. And I think it's pretty obvious that the judges ruled it a slip. They didn't rule it a knockdown. But even without the knockdown, I still thought that I did enough to win. I thought the pressure was good. I thought I did. You look at the statistics, I outlanded him, more significant strikes, more strikes overall. So even in the third round where he held me down basically all round, we were still like
Yeah.
tied in significant strikes. So yeah, man, I do think I won the fight, but like nothing you can do is gonna turn that back or anything. So I mean that's another thing I'm not really worried about.
Yeah.
Um, I know that I went toe to toe and I arguably won against a guy that was a former ranked guy, a guy that's won some huge fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
A guy former top 10. So guys that fought guys like Donald Cerrone and Jim Miller and a ton of experienced guys.
Yeah. I mean, um, sorry, my dogs were going off right now. I'm sorry. My dogs are crazy. But
Oh man.
dang, dang, I just had a brain fart. But basically, yeah. With the Hernandez fight, did you talk to your team at all and ask what they thought, or were they, or you kind of just like I'm gonna go off my own judgment?
No, I think my whole team kind of really thought that I won the fight, and
Hmm.
even in a loss, I thought so. We came up with a little game plan to go by, and even afterwards, my team was like, that's the best that you've ever followed a game plan. Like, yeah, the only thing better that I could have done was not accept the takedowns or fight back up. But I mean, third
Hmm.
round was kind of grueling. It was a tough fight, man. Probably could have got fight of the night. Should have got fight of the night. Um,
Hmm.
but sometimes being in the third round, man, you're tired, you're worn down. Sometimes it's hard to get up, especially when a guy just wants to hold you. So I think that's the only complaint that the team really had was, we got to have urgency.
Yeah.
And I think I used that a little bit in the Jordan Levitt fight because I didn't accept it, man. I really tried to get to my feet, maybe too fast, maybe let my guard down too much, and got caught with the submission. So um,
Yeah, like what you said earlier with Hernandez. I believe he actually is a top 10. He was in the top 10 for a bit. I know he fought Cerrone, fought some other really good guys.
mhm.
And I've seen some fighters in past interviews say that even off a loss they count it as a win because of the fight itself, not like the decision, obviously, like the loss of the decision. But I've heard fighters openly say like I might have lost the fight, but I won the war in a sense. Like I learned stuff and I gained stuff from that loss. Is that kind of how you look at it nowadays with that Hernandez fight and even with the Levitt fight?
Yeah, maybe not so much with the Lovett fight, but you go back to the Hernandez fight, man. Like, you look at his face afterwards. Now I know he's a guy that wears a little bit of damage. I don't
Yep.
normally wear like a lot of damage, but he was pretty busted up. But that just shows that I was really landing big punches. You know, um, but the Jordan Lovett fight, man, they're just I just got to learn from that one. That one was just one
Yep.
that you know, made the mistake and it cost me. And it sucks that it was so early. And it just felt like I didn't get a chance to get going. Had I got a chance to get going, I think the fight would have been much different. So, I mean, if you're, I would say, yeah, if I fought Jordan Lovett again, it would be 100% different the next time. But yeah, I just got to learn from it, man, and move on to the next one and try not to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that goes for everybody. But we've been talking about the UFC lightweight division. Obviously, you're a lightweight fighter. How do you feel the UFC lightweight division this generation in a sense stacks up to the past generations of the BJ Penn generation, the Tony Ferguson, the Khabib generation with I know it's like a lot younger guys, the Fizievs, the Bahamendes, even Moicano, Pat Pimlet, all the like the younger guys moving up, fighting the big dogs. How do you feel this generation compares and differs from the past generations?
I mean, this generation's a generation of guys that have been training since they were probably kids.
Yep.
So, that's what makes them so good. And, the last generation, they might have been doing mixed martial arts as a kid, but not like full MMA. Some of these guys, like Patty, man, he was a kid whenever he was training MMA, and that's I think why he's so good. I got a good friend of mine that I train with a lot that UFC middleweight Brennan Allen. Man, when Brennan Allen joined the
Absolutely.
gym, he was like 11 years old. He was in a kid's class. And then as he started to get older, he moved to the adult class when he was like 13 years old. And a guy like that, training with a guy like me, a pro fighter, when he's
Hmm.
13 years old, and we're beating the hell out of him when he's 13 years old. So now look at him now. Now he beats the hell out of me, and look what he's doing in the UFC. I mean, he's had a hell of a run in the UFC, but I think it's because his generation started training martial arts so young versus some of these guys that maybe just got into the sport, kind of like me. I didn't really have a background or nothing when I got into the sport. I just big fan, maybe naturally athletic, had some skill, um, and then I started doing MMA. But like Brandon wrestled all throughout school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
You
I
trained
think
at
that's
Kill
the
Cliff?
difference. Yeah, yeah, he's still at Kill Cliff. He's down there right now training for the
Mhm.
fight. He's on the New Orleans card.
Do you train at
Good
Kill
stuff.
Cliff?
What's that?
Do you train at Kill Cliff?
I have done some training at Kill Cliff. One of the main reasons, because of the Ultimate Fighter season 31, most of the
Hmm.
coaches from Chandler's team or from our team was Kill Cliff coaches, Coach Jason Strout and Michael
And
Chandler and some of those guys.
Henry
Sean,
Hoof, I believe.
what's that?
I believe Henry Hoof, right?
Yeah, well, Henry never really came down on the show, I don't think.
Okay.
But Sean Soriano, who's a striking coach at Kill Cliff, Jason Strout was one of our coaches, real awesome guy. So I went down there and I done a little bit of training in Kill Cliff.
What is the main gym you train at? Because I was doing research and it said, I believe something Gracie South, and then when I did research, I couldn't find the gym, so I didn't.
Yeah, so I actually own two small MMA gyms. I mean, we're not
Okay.
very big, you know. I got a lot of fighters, a lot of jujitsu guys. We're primarily a jujitsu slash MMA school. Under my coach, Raphael Elwanger, who's a black belt under Carlos Gracie. That's when I walked through the door, 18 years ago to start training. I trained under him. Um, and then we later on kind of went on our own, developed our own gym called Grace United. So now I am a part owner of the Grace United. I own two of my own gyms. And that's my gym that I've been at since day one. Of course, I still go around a little bit. I get with
Yeah.
gyms like Kill Cliff. I go to a gym in Mobile, Alabama with one of my coaches, Jimmy Mills, Port City MMA. I've trained at Team Alpha Male before. I've trained in Vegas with some teams down there. I've been around a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Because the gym I believe on Tapology, the Gracie gym, I was like, dang, I never heard of this. And then I clicked on it, and you were the only fighter that showed. And I was like, I think this gym might be shut down. I didn't know, so I was like, oh, she figured I'd ask.
yeah. I mean, Brennan left the gym, quite some time ago. So of course he represents Kill Cliff. But when he's home, he still
Yep.
trains with me a good bit. But as far as the Gracie United, I'm the only one in the UFC at the time. Or at this time, we've had some guys in Bellator. We've had some guys in PFL and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, so we're still growing, man. Hopefully, in the future, I get some of my younger guys, good opportunities to fight in UFC one day.
I love Brendan Allen. I'm a big Brendan Allen fan. I've watched him fight in Jacksonville. Been a fan ever since. I love that dude. He's so cool. Such a nice dude as well.
And he's nice too to me, unless he's punching me in the face.
Yeah, I feel that. I think that's just how the gym is. I have some sparring partners that I like that. But I gotta ask you about the Ultimate Fighter. You were on the McGregor versus Chandler series. What was it like just watching McGregor and Chandler go at it pretty much 24/7 throughout the series?
It was fun, man, and that's kind of what everybody expected. So we knew it was going to be some fireworks going down here and there, and
Yep.
a lot of the times when they was getting into it, it was just fun to sit back and watch. And some of the times that one of the main time they really got into it was right after my fight, right after I fought Lee Hammond. So they was pushing me to the back to go get checked out by the doctors and stuff, do our normal routine after the fight. And I'm trying to look and watch what's going on in the ring. But
Yeah.
it was cool, man. It was something that I'll remember forever. Just that season, that whole season was so cool, man. All the people was in the house. Um, Crazy, but really, really memorable.
Yeah, your fight with Jason Knight on that series is one of my favorite Ultimate Fighter fights of all time. Like top five. When the episode with the fight on it. During that fight on a Tuesday night, I was going crazy. I was like, dude, this is like UFC main event weather fight. That was one of the craziest fights I've ever seen, especially on the Ultimate Fighter. That was insane. I loved it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And hats off to Jason too, because I think for that fight, we accomplished and did exactly what we wanted to do. Because
Yep.
I mean, me and Jason we're good friends, man. We knew each other before the Ultimate Fighter, so we knew that we were more than likely going to get paired up to match, and we wanted to fight each other because I mean, he's a Mississippi guy, I'm a Louisiana guy. We were supposed to fight, many years ago, so it was almost kind of like destiny, both of us being on the Ultimate Fighter. Um, so we really wanted to fight each other, and we were talking about, hey man, look, we need to fight because I know me and you, we're gonna put on a war that everybody wants to see. And Jason even said, all right, let's do it. No takedowns. Let's go out there and freaking just bang it out. And I'm like, deal. Let's do it. And
That
let's make an epic Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner style fight. So I
that body
really
shot
feel
you
like,
landed.
yeah, I really feel like we accomplished it. And yeah,
Yep.
man. And Jason's tough. You can hit Jason all day long and he's not going to go down. So I had to switch it up and go to the body a little bit.
That body shot you ended it with against the cage was so nasty. Oh my. Dude, that's one of my favorite fights. But Jason, I believe you both have been on the Ultimate Fighter twice, I do believe. Or it might be just Jason.
No, I don't think he was ever on the Ultimate Fighter before.
Dang, I could have sworn somebody told me. I'm not like I think the first season I watched was Volkanovski Ortega.
I
I
got
really
you.
haven't watched any seasons, but one of my friends was like, I remember like the day of like the episode we were talking about it in some group chat. They're like, man, they both been on the Ultimate Fighter twice. Like they both came out sure this is gonna be a crazy fight. So I was like, oh, they have? I didn't know that, but yeah.
So now I don't
Oh,
think he was ever on the Ultimate Fighter, but he was in the UFC. So I
yeah,
mean,
that's what it would have been.
yeah, he did a stint in the UFC, and I mean, he fought a lot of. He beat Dan Hooker in the UFC.
Yep.
So he's beat some Dan Hooker, Alex Caceres. He beat some tough guys, man. In his first stint in the UFC, and of course, that was my. Well, I went to my third stint in the UFC, but I've been on like the Contender Series and stuff like that before.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the background we have the Ultimate Fighter flag. I believe is that signed by everybody?
Man, no, it should have been signed by everybody, but it's I don't know. I guess that I'm not the type of guy that wants to run around and ask everybody to sign my stuff. But I want to say it's got a few. It's got Austin Hubbard signed it for me. Coach
Yep.
Robert Drysdale signed it for me. I think maybe Roosevelt Roberts, Michael Chandler, and Coach Crazy Bob Cook. It looks like I got the sign for me.
You didn't
So
get McGregor?
no, I don't think McGregor signed that one. I do have some proper 12 signed by McGregor though. I
Okay,
did ask him
okay.
to sign my proper 12.
I bet that's even better to be honest. Because now you can never drink it. Did you? You didn't ever drink it, right? You just kept the bottle.
No, man, I don't have no desire to drink whiskey. I just
Okay.
the bottles were spread throughout the house, full unopened whiskey bottles of proper 12. They got
Yep.
the Irish apple and then the original regular proper 12. I just grabbed two bottles while he was over one night. I say, hey man, you'll sign these for me. He signed them up, no problem. We talked a little bit, and you know, when it's time to go home, man, they say, hey, whatever you want to bring home, put it in a box, we'll send it. So I put everything I could think of in a box, and they ship it home for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Ultimate Fighter seems like such a fun environment. Like the house. I feel like in every season there's always like a beef in the house, but it's kind of like a reality series, and I love it.
Oh
I
yeah,
love reality series.
it is, man, and it really is. It's fun. And I would think the only downfall about it is you can't communicate with nobody. You don't get a
Yeah.
phone. You don't get to talk to your family, so you don't really know what's going on. Of course, if there's ever an emergency at home, then they got the contacts to your family, and the family's got the contacts to them. But other than that, man, it's I call it a fighter's paradise because I mean you have no worries. You don't have a job you have to get up. You don't need money for anything. Whatever you want, you write it on a list, and they'll have it there to the next day. You know, they pick you up, shuttle you to and from training with best facilities, best coaches.
Yep.
And you get anything you want. So it's a fighter's paradise.
What? So what did they do with your phones? Did they just take them from you?
Yeah, they take them, put them up. turn them off, and then at the end of the season, they once you do your final interview, they give you phone back.
What did your messages look like when you opened that phone for the first time?
Oh, it was countless messages, man, from Facebook. But I think a lot because at the time you don't. A lot of people didn't know that who was on the Ultimate Fighter yet. They knew
Yep.
we was filming the season, and then I think we did some interviews. We did interview day, and some of those interviews started popping out. Then you started figuring out, oh shit, well they got all these guys. Kurt's on the Ultimate Fighter, Jason Knight's on the Ultimate Fighter, and then people start sending you messages and stuff. So Instagram starts picking up a little bit. Texas starts picking up a little bit. So you have quite a few.
Yeah. I isn't the Ultimate Fighter like filmed before it's released, I believe?
It is like it's all pre-filmed. Like
Yeah.
when the show actually aired, I was at home, right? So we know the results, but you're not supposed to tell anybody.
Oh, so you had already won.
Yeah, well, I was
Oh
in the
wow.
finals. The
Oh,
finals
okay,
wasn't done
okay,
yet, so
okay.
I hadn't fought Austin yet. But the two fights on the show was already done and over. So I want to say I was season 6. So of course I got we did a little watch party at my gym for season 1, even though I didn't fight season 1, and they did the fights exactly like they happen on the show. The very first fight was Roosevelt Roberts and Nate Jennerman. So
Hmm.
that was the fight that was on the very first episode. So everybody gets over to the gym. We watch the first episode. Of course, I don't fight, but there's a lot of interaction. There's the fight picks, there's the matchups, there's the face-offs when you get matched up. So there was a lot to do with a lot everybody on season episode 1. And then episode 6, of course, I'm fighting. You want to do a
Hmm.
watch party. I already know the results, and
Yeah.
and I win, so it's even better. It's gonna suck to do a. I don't even know if I would want to do a fight party or a watch party if you lose. So and the being the way the fight went down, I kind of was getting controlled a little bit in round 1 and 2 until I come back and won. So I think we got together, a lot of family at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we watched season 6, my first fight with Lee Hammond live. Well, live to
Yeah.
everybody else, but me knowing the results.
Did your coaches know, or did like literally nobody knew?
No, I called and I told my coaches, I told my
Okay.
family, close relatives and friends and family out of the gym knew what happened and that I was going to be in the finals.
Oh, okay. I was just imagining your coaches like, wait, what the heck? You're in the finals, and you're like, oh yeah, I just wasn't allowed to tell you. That would be funny.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I did was call my coaches, call my manager,
Okay. Yeah.
and hit them up. But hey, we going to the finals, baby. Let's go. So that was a super exciting time for me to be able to, which I called my wife. So we fought, and I fought Jason Knight. We went home, packed our bags, and left. Went to the hotel that night. So my fight with Jason Knight was the last day in the house, the last night in the house.
Oh
We didn't even
wow.
stay the night. So everybody was getting their phones back after they were doing the interviews. Well, I was one of the last guys to do an interview out of the 16. So guys are doing the interview, getting their phone, and they're just shipping guys out all to the hotel. As soon as they get their phone, they're gone.
Yep.
So Roosevelt Roberts actually done his interview, and I'm like, hey, let me borrow your phone real quick. So I called my wife because I hadn't talked to her, and I called her and said, hey, look, I just fought Jason Knight, and I won, going to the finals. So I'm gonna do an interview, get my phone back. Love you. I'll call you back later. So they get my phone back, man. They shipped me out to the hotel, and I called my managers and friends, family, whoever, and tell them the news.
Damn, that's crazy, man. But I don't want to take up too much of your time, so we're gonna wrap it up with one last question.
Yep.
I ask everybody this. Well, I got two more questions. The first one is just I just want to know: do you think the UFC should strip John Jones of the heavyweight title, and he should stop ducking Tom Aspinall?
Man, probably, man, because I feel like a guy like John Jones, yeah, you're the best in the world. You're the greatest of all
Yeah.
time, but you're holding up the division, man. Like as fans want to see the fights. Like,
Yep.
and now he's prolonging it. And honestly, I was in the Ultimate Fighter house when John Jones fought Sirion Game. And then, yeah, he came back and he fought Stipe afterwards. But man, we're talking about 2 fights in almost 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Um, I don't know.
I,
But yeah, as a fan, you want to see the fight. But as a
Yep.
fighter, it's like, yeah, strip him and let's move on to the next guy.
All I gotta say on it is John Jones. The Stipe fight did not need to happen. We understand the legacy. You beat up an old dude
For
who had already
sure.
got knocked out by Francis. Fight Tom Aspinall, and we will be happy. And you can fight Shamil Gaziev next. We don't care what you do. Just fight Tom. You're not
Yeah,
gonna
for
win.
sure.
You're not winning, but you know.
Yeah, I would
But
like to see Tom Aspinall win as well. I've never been a big John Jones fan. I've gotten to fight on the card with John Jones at UFC 159 when he fought Chael Sonnen, and I fought that same night. So um, I don't know. I've just never been a fan, so I would like to see Tom Aspinall win.
yes, sir. But we're gonna wrap it up. So I got one last question for you. Do you have a message for all your friends, family, supporters that have followed you throughout your career, your first UFC stint, Ultimate Fighters, regional, everything that have just followed you and supported you? And what can we expect from Kurt Holloway inside and outside the octagon in the remainder of 2025?
Yeah, man. My biggest message is thank you. Thank you for the support. And that's the biggest thing. Is having supporters help get you through everything.
Yep.
So yeah, I thank my friends, family, teammates, everybody for the support. And man, look forward to watching me make a comeback. Like I will fight again, no matter what, and I will get a victory again. So that's one thing. I've given my friends, my families, a lot of great victories, and with victory comes defeat sometimes.
Yep.
But you know, always pick back up and keep moving forward.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure having you on. Guys, UFC lightweight veteran Kurt Holloway. Let's get him on UFC 319. Gabe Green, it doesn't matter who, but let's get Kurt Holloway on UFC 319. Let's get him on that Poirier card and let's see him and Poirier get those W's on the card. We need it in 2025.
Sounds good to me, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your time, man.
Yes, sir. Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.